Hi, everyone. Welcome to Immigration Talk, episode 8, with myself, John Pesravi, immigration attorney, and Anya Segiva, my wonderful associate attorney in Virginia. Anya, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Hi, John. How are you?
Good, good. We're going to dig into some cool piece of information. First off, some changes to the diversity visa lottery, the DV lottery, or the green card lottery, as many people know it. And then we're going to talk about the B1 tourist visa, B1, B2 tourist visa, and the number one reason people get denied for the B2 tourist visa in particular, and go into the background of what's going on there. So many people apply for this visa category, and many are denied. I mean, millions apply, millions get denied. It's so pivotal to understand why that is to avoid frustration. A lot of people get angry about it. So to know what mentality consular officers have when they get into it. But let's talk about diversity visa first. The green card lottery was established, I don't know, in the 1990s, spearheaded by Senator Kennedy, now deceased, and originally tried to bring Irish people here in the United States, but they broadened it and said that for those countries that don't have high immigrant numbers to the United States, we're going to create an opportunity of up to 50,000 diversity visas that could turn into green cards that are randomly chosen. You put your name in a lottery. If it's chosen, you could potentially get a green card. They say 50,000 a year, but not that many actually finish because there's so many problems in this program that could happen. Typos in your initial application could happen. They could be, embassy shutdowns. Your case may not get adjudicated in time because there's a deadline. And so there's a mess of problems that exist. And it's just gotten worse with the COVID situation and the pandemic. And this has also led to a lot of litigation and fighting in court. And even when people have won in court when suing the Department of State, Department of State has not been as helpful and forthcoming in completing what they're supposed to do. And so, Anya, could you talk more about what the new changes have been in DV lottery and some updates?
Yes, we just got very important information on December 9th, last week, from the Department of State. They changed the process of how people who won the lottery for 2022, how they will go through the whole process. Okay, before this year, usually KCC, Kentucky Center, right? They take all the documents from the applicants, they process them, and then they schedule the interview. Right? They see what's missing, what's not missing. Right? So now Department of State says, okay, we will take off KCC from the whole process. Now the applicants will submit DS-260 directly to KCC, and that's it. No other documents, right, would be submitted to KCC. So, and they will not be able to check if the documents satisfy the requirements or they don't, right? Now the embassies will do it. And it's a good and bad news at the same time. Yeah. So why it might be a good news, right? Department of State says that it might make the whole process easier and faster, and because as John mentioned, there have been a lot of litigation recently regarding DV lottery, and a lot of people were not able to immigrate and to use their entries if they won. And part of this problem was also because KCC was not able to process the documents as fast as they're supposed to. Okay, and supposedly now the process should be faster. So this is the good part. But the bad part about all that is that DV winners now will have only this one chance of showing that they're qualified for the DV lottery, right? For example, if they don't submit all the documents properly, right, to the embassy the first time, they might not be able to use to get their visas, right? There are so many details about that. I will go over the documents that needed for DV winners that they will need to present to the embassy. First thing is birth certificate. Okay, again, we had a video about that. You can look at it a couple of weeks ago about how the importance of checking your birth certificate. All right.
Yeah, make sure the information is proper. Yeah, people really should watch that because it seems really benign. It's like, oh, that's not big deal. It's a birth certificate. Massive problems with birth certificate all the time. So really check your document, watch the video about registration dates, spellings, make sure translations are right, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So and only long version of certificate is acceptable, not the short one, right? And both parents has to be listed, and so on and so on and so on, right? So number
Yeah,
one thing.
you really have to check. There's a website called the Visa Reciprocity website for Department of State, and you find your country because, like in France, they issue now a lot of times this EU version of your birth certificate that's intended for languages, if people want to use that. But the U.S. government does not accept that. They want the birth certificates that's from your local town or city in France, and that's sometimes hard to get, or the translation hard to do because it's handwritten. But it's really weird, and there's a lot of million and one nuances to international birth certificates.
Exactly. Same thing with South Africa, right? You have to get like special version of your birth certificate. I forgot what it's called, but it has some like special name for it, right? That is acceptable by US.
Mhm.
Okay, so going back to the list of documents, right? Proof of education, very, very, very important, right? To show the eligibility for the visa, person has to satisfy certain educational requirements, right? So you have to bring all your diplomas, at least you're supposed to have at least high school diploma and everything that's higher, right?
Mhm.
So all the documents, I should probably say it at the end, but I will say it now and I will repeat it at the end. All the documents that is not in English have to be translated by a certified translator, right, and presented to the consular officer. So please don't forget about that.
That goes with it. So translator certifies that they're fluent in both languages. And the alternative to the 2 year high school education or high school education is 2 years of work history in a field to prove that you have this work experience as an alternative. And it does come prop up. There's many countries I've had clients don't have high school education. So then we have to go and say, okay, let's prove your work experience, get job letters. It gets complicated because how do you prove that? You may have tax records, but some countries don't or don't have that kind of paperwork. So then you have to get letters and other proof to document the work experience.
Exactly. So that's where it gets complicated, right?
Yeah.
All the criminal records, if you have any like criminal history, right? Police certificate, military records, very important too. Everything should be translated.
Yeah.
And you have to take all these documents with you to the interview. Um, I would like to add important thing about police certificates because not a lot of people know about that. It's in regards to DV visas and in regards to any other immigrant visas, right? So, for example, it's always good to have these police certificates not only under their married name, right, but to get it as well under their maiden name too,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
From police certificates from all the countries where the applicant lived for more than 1 year, right? After they turn 16 years old, right? And from their country of nationality, if they live there for 6 months, more than 6 months, right? And the current country where they live, if they live there for more than 6 months, right? So this is very important too. Again, translation is required. An expired passport, and the passport has to be valid for at least 6 months after the applicant intends to enter the United States. So, and passports have to be presented for all family members at this stage, not just for the principal applicant, but for all the family members, right? And DS forms too, the S260 has to be submitted for all the family members who emigrated, right?
And I have a copy of the receipt notice for that too, that you filed it.
Yes, it's one of the first documents that you have to present showing that you submitted the S260 indeed, right? Along with the entrance status check saying that yes, you want the lottery, right? And all the other correspondence that KCC sends you.
The diversity visa, I started to jump in there. It's just like it's more complicated consular processing than the other categories because especially when there was the MVC uploaded in the CEAC or CEAC website, it's kind of more formalized. But it's similar to the K1 visa where you don't upload documents, you take it there. And when they do that, it's kind of loosey goosey, like what documents to bring. It makes it confusing for people because they don't have it all in one place. It's just so troublesome. It makes it extra hard for people to do it right, especially if they don't speak English, maybe in countries that don't have as easy internet access. This is just let's hear you talk. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much you have to do to make sure this is right. And it's so risky because if you don't get it right at the embassy, they may ask you to submit the paperwork later, but that delay could cause massive problems because your case has to be approved before the end of September. Sorry, go ahead. And just so you're hearing this, I'm like, the bad news is worse than the good news because I'd rather have if you start early with this and uploading these and they approve it, they'll give you a lot of time, and you'll know at least your documents are correct to a certain extent. They're not always correct when they say your documents are correct, but it's just so many problems that can emerge because of this.
Yes, you're absolutely correct, John. Right now, the person will go to the embassy, and only at the embassy, the consular officer will tell them, okay, this is not enough. We need this, that, and this. And you forgot to, for example, some documents are missing, right? And
Yeah.
they will tell you, okay, bring them. And you have to bring them before the September 30th. Actually, the embassy has to issue a visa before September 30th. And that's it. If it's after that, one day, 1st of October, it's not happening.
You forget a
Yeah.
police certificate from a country that's hard to get, like Canada for the going COVID is like you have to get a police certificate from the Royal Mounted Police RCMP, whatever they call it. And they were saying like, yeah, expect 3 or 4 months delay and get it. So if someone goes to the interview and all of a sudden they used to live in Canada, they're not going to get their police certificate in time. So that's why starting early with the old system is so much better, or hiring an attorney and just getting this stuff done now, way before your interview is scheduled, is the way to go because there's just so much risk baked into this game.
Exactly. And you DV winners, right? They just wait, right? They don't pick and choose when they're going to be called for an interview, right?
Yeah.
So so it's always better to get prepared very well in advance, right? So I'm going back to the list of documents.
Sure.
uh, Medical exam, understandably, right? A fee payment to for every applicant is $330, right? Usually it's cash, but depends on the instructions for each and every embassy. It might be different.
Yeah, that's gonna be different. Each embassy does their payments differently. Yeah.
Right. A very important thing: evidence that applicant won't become a public charge. This is probably one of the most important things about all that, right? Along with the showing proofs that the applicant satisfies the educational requirements, right?
Yeah.
So here, we still have this public charge. It didn't go anywhere. A lot of people think that it faded somewhere, but it's not. It's still here, and people have to prove the winners specifically. They have to prove that they will not become a public charge in the United States. So what they can show, right, to prove that. For example, job. If they have steady job, of course, by the time they're going to immigrate to the United States, they will not have steady job, right? But they might have job offer, for example, right, from employer in the United States, right? They can show bank statements showing that they have some money saved on their bank account, right? They can show assets. It can be cars, it can be real estate, right? Please don't sell anything before you get the visa. This is you not to forget about that, right? So anything that you have that has some value can be used to show that you'll not become a public charge, right? Also, there is an option that if you have someone in the United States, like a friend, a family member, acquaintance, doesn't really matter. They can sign a form. It's called I-134, right? 134. It's affidavit of support. Usually, this affidavit of support is used for non-immigrant visas, but in this context, it can be used to show that DV winner will not become a public charge and that he has a sponsor in the United States. Sponsor, again, has to be a US citizen or lawful permanent resident.
And it's best that they be living in the United States. So weird that they use that instead of I-864, which is usually used for family-based green cards. But the education or work experience requirement is like a minimum to try to combat the public charge. So that's kind of part of it. But yeah, they want more sometimes. Depends on the consular officer. If you have a bachelor's degree, a master's, PhD, the educational component could help. If you have proof of language, English equivalency, all this stuff, it helps the officer understand that this person is going to be able to come to the United States and pick up and not, have to borrow money or get money from the government. So obviously assets, like you said, and sponsorship is good, but you can add on education, add on other things to show that this person is qualified. They may have health insurance already or something like that. They possible whatever we used to do, and people might not be aware of this, for the special Trump version of the public charge rule, they take all this up into consideration. You can potentially throw it out there. The more the better. You got to be safe. You really only get like one shot at this interview because if it's delayed, you might lose out. So now you want to go in fully prepped. It's such an important video that I talk about. Hopefully people can see it because it's a really Well, if you win that lottery, you're so excited, but you still haven't won yet. It's just like it's just the beginning
You
where
have
you
to
win
win
that.
2 times.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't win. Every year they say 50,000, but probably only like 30,000 get the green card every year. So it's a large chunk of people who make mistakes or don't have
Well,
what's that needed.
in last 2 years during the pandemic, yes, it was less than half, if I'm not mistaken, taken into account all the
Yeah,
litigation and everything, right?
yeah, it's
Right.
dramatic.
Yes. So just to sum up, um, please be very careful. Read the instructions on your specific U.S. embassy, right? Because U.S. embassies, they differ, and there might be some like slight difference in the documents that they want to see specifically for your country, right? And I would probably add that uh, I think that because of this new rule, the denial rate will probably go up
Yeah.
again. Because why? Because a lot of people, they will not be able to prepare the documents properly, and the visa officers, again, they might put them on hold, just tell them just bring us documents, right? They might put them on administrative processing too. There is an option, and that's it. If application goes into administrative processing, it can last forever, and chances are very very high that you'll not be able to get your DV visa by the end of the fiscal year 2022, because all what we're talking about today is in regards to DV 2022. So it's a like pilot program right now that they took the KCC out of the process. They want to see how it's gonna work out, right? If it's gonna be good or bad for the government, for the applicants, right? Costs, all the benefits. So we will see how it's going to work. And I wish everyone good luck. And if you need help with that, please reach out to us and we will be glad to help you.
Yeah, definitely schedule a consultation. Email us at info@jqklaw.com. Briefly mention what the reason is you're contacting us, and we schedule a private video consultation to go over and decide what to do now. Now is the time to do it because of people that were chosen got notifications by now, and it's starting the interview process happening. So you want to jump on that. A lot of interviews are going to be in March and April and May. So we want to have all the paperwork ready. So just email us at info@jqklaw.com. So the next thing we want to talk about is, again, goes to the embassy system, is B tourist visas. There's B1, B2. The B1 is for if you're coming for business space to a meeting. B2 is for tourism purposes, which is the vast majority. Sometimes they approve a B1/B2, but really B2 is a tourist visa to come see the United States, go to Disneyland, go to New York, go to Los Angeles, or whatever. And it has a relatively high denial rate. It varies depending on the country. And Anya, can you talk about what the starting mindset is? If someone applies for a tourist visa, they go to their embassy interview, they've completed the DS-160, they have all their documents ready to go, they see an officer. What is the officer thinking based on what they've been trained to think in that situation?
The first thought that they have is that, okay, he or she or they would want to stay in the United States and they would not want to come back in their home country. And this is called immigrant intent. So every consular officer sees in every single applicant a potential immigrant into the United States. So, and the burden
And it's in the law that they're
is
supposed to do that. They're trained. First, you assume that they have immigrant intent. Then it's up to the applicant to say differently.
right to prove otherwise. So it's
Yeah.
the burden of proof is on the applicant to show that no, we just want to come to the United States, have fun, right? See family, see friends, right? Travel, see the country, right? Go to Disneyland and come back home, right? And it's number one, probably reason for the denial for tourists.
And not just for tourist visas, but also for student visas, for a lot of other kinds of visas. But we're primarily focused on the B2 tourist visa right now.
Yes, exactly. Some visas are specifically exempt from this immigrant intent, I would call it like that, requirement, right? H1 visa, but not H1B1 visa, right? L visa, and I think V visa, which is
Very rare. You don't get those anymore. It's
yeah,
maybe like 20 years ago, people get V visas. But yeah, so essentially the H1B and the L are the exception, but not H1B1, which is specialty for like Chile or Singapore. So it's really complex. But even E visas could be subject to it, even though they're usually not one. I don't want to get too complex with the investment visas and stuff. But what could you show the embassy officer to make them comfortable to know that you're not going to be staying and remaining in the United States past your time?
Well, what they want to see, they want to see your ties to your home country, right? And the
Hmm.
ties can be in different forms. For example, you have family, right, in your home country, and you have kids, and now you are, for example, traveling for conference or something like that, right? Or to see like your relative, right? And you're traveling without your family. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, right? Because one consular officer will look at that and say, hey, why are you not taking your wife and kids with you, right? And the second consular officer will say, probably it's okay, so
Yeah.
again, it depends, right? You need to
Because it
show
shows
that you have
you're,
steady job.
yeah, that the person may come without the family, file for asylum, and then bring the family there, so they're paranoid about that. But some officer may have the opposite. Be like, "Oh, your family staying is good." There's no way to really prep for it other than being yourself and hoping for the best. But go ahead, you were giving another example.
Exactly, yes. And another thing that shows your ties to your home country is job, of course. And if it's a good, well-paid job, you've been working there for some, I would not say long time, but for some time, right? It not necessarily has to be like 5 years, all right, or
Yeah.
10 years. No, no. But it's good too, right?
Mhm.
Showing that you have, for example, your life is set again in your home country, and you're totally comfortable with living there, right? You have the
Yeah.
assets, you earn good money, you have place to live, right? You have car, you have family there, um, yeah. So all that.
Yeah. I've had cases where an 18-year-old went to the embassy with none of this and they were approved, and had a 4-year-old who had a factory and two kids, and they were denied. So the reality is for these tourist visas is if you're interested, you apply for it, and it may work, it may not. As immigration attorneys, one primary role I believe that we do is to avoid doing something that can look bad and hurt you in the future. For example, part of it, you have to fill out a form DS 160. And I've had clients not list certain things about work history or military history because they didn't think it was important, or they weren't paying attention. Or many times they have a friend fill it out because their English is not good, or the travel agency fills it out. And when they do that, they miss information. The person may go to the embassy interview, get approved or denied, whatever. 5 years from now, they win the diversity visa green card lottery, and they go to the interview and they say, well, in a tourist visa, you told us one thing, but now you're telling us something different. You're committing fraud. You've committed fraud in the past. We're not going to approve you. And the fraud was something that should have been fixed. It could have been easily fixed. And that's why our job is to kind of make sure that you do everything properly. At the end of the day, it's up to the immigration or the consular officer to be able to make a decision. Will make you the best look that you can have. But my job is really to prevent you from doing or something that caused you to denial then because of that reason, or future reasons for fraud or misrepresentation. Because I do see it frequently where people get really messed up for a tourist visa application they did 10 years ago that they did in a hurry, they weren't paying attention, or their travel agent did for them and didn't bother asking them questions to get in more detail on the application. That's what our job here is for these kind of cases.
Another thing that we see is that applicants, they put that they're married or not married when in fact they're married or
Yeah.
not married, right? And they think, oh, okay, if I'm married, probably, and they will ask me why you're not coming with your wife, so I will put unmarried there, or vice versa. It works both
Yeah.
ways, right? So
Yeah.
please, you always have to tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly. U.S. immigration is so strict, and a lot of countries are more easygoing when it comes to form filling and stuff. But no, the U.S. each question on the form is designed to get you later, so you have to be very careful and just be honest. It's better to be honest and get denied than to get approved with dishonesty because it's going to catch up with you. It's going to follow you in your immigration process. We see it all the time.
Right, and the some questions in the in DS 160, which is immigrant visa application, right? They're tricky. For example, there is such an option. You're like, what is your marital status? And one of the options is common law marriage, right? And a lot of people misinterpreted it, and they think, okay, if I'm living with a person, so this is my like common law spouse, right? But this
Yeah,
is not the thing, right? Um, depending on the legislation of the country where you're from, where you currently live.
that it goes. There's
Uh,
so many countries, so many different rules, and you got to really look at each to see how it's interpreted and what documents you have and how it looks. It's a whole mess, but that's U.S.
exactly.
immigration for you.
Right, but they could have put like option like boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that to make it easy for people, so people will understand, okay, yeah, probably this is my option, but there is no such an option, right? And that's why it gets
Exactly.
people very confused. too.
Yeah, yeah, it messes it up. Do you have any other notes or about this topic?
Um, I think I think that's all that I wanted to talk about today.
Great. Well, thank you, Anya, so much. Yeah, if you guys are interested, if y'all are interested in scheduling a private consultation, talk about this, email us at info@jqqlaw.com. We'll do a video consultation to go over what's going on and plan out from there. I mean, every day we get cases. We just got a recent case where a person had a lawyer, but they did a marriage case and they refiled in the wrong time, and it could create a lot of havoc for their case now. So we have to withdraw and redo it. There's just so much that goes on, and you really need somebody who really cares, really focus on this stuff to get to know you. That's why we do video consultations and your background, and really make it a personal affair, because this is such an important relationship to have with the professionals handling your immigration case. It's kind of like your personal doctor. You want to talk with them and let them know what's going on in your life, and just plan it out and strategize properly and spend the time to do the research, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of maintenance and care of your case, just email us at info@jqqlaw.com. We'll schedule time to talk about it. Anya, thank you so much for coming on again and helping out with this.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you everyone for watching. Please share this video. It's a very important video, right? Especially for the DV 2022 winners. And give a like to this video and see you next week.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.